Hi, I'm Heather Bennett.
And I'm Alan Feldman. We're from the Laguna Woods Democratic Club. And once again, it's election time in California. The primary election is scheduled for June the 5th, which is less than 2 months away. The general election, of course, is in November. So it's now our turn as citizens to participate in our government by voting. And this year, we're going to be electing all the statewide constitutional offices, as they're called, the governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, United States senator, and a lot of local and countywide and regional offices all on down the line. And so what we're going to do today, what we're going to talk about today, before we can vote, of course, we need to register to vote. And that's going to be the subject we're covering today. Who needs to register, how you vote. There's different ways to vote in California, how the vote's counted, and very important now, the security of our whole electoral system here in Orange County. And to answer some of the questions that people might have, we are joined by Jackie Wu, who is from the Office of the Registrar of Voters in Orange County. And Jackie is going to try to lead us through some of the thickets on these issues. So Jackie, thank you so much for coming, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to ask the first question, and it's really basic information that maybe people aren't aware of, but what exactly does the Registrar of Voters do? What is the duties of the Office of Registrar of Voters?
So the Orange County Registrar of Voters is charged with running the elections for all of Orange County, and we start with candidate filing. We go to finding polling places, training the poll workers, making sure that our office and all of Orange County is in compliance with federal and state laws.
And how many registered voters are there approximately in Orange County?
In Orange County, there's about 1.5 million voters, and the total population of Orange County is about 3 million. So I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
Very good, yes. Now, how can someone register to vote?
A person who's interested in registering to vote can do it the traditional way, which is filling out a paper voter registration form, or there's actually a way to register online now. And that's available in different languages as well. If people don't make the deadline to register to vote, which is May 21st, they can also come to our office for what is called conditional voter registration, or also known as same-day registration. Through that, they can come to our office, register to vote, and we'll check against our records and verify whether or not they're actually eligible.
Now, if I moved, say I moved from the last time we voted, and, do I need to re-register?
I think it's always important for those voters who change their addresses between elections to update their address. It's really critical for us to be able to be in contact with voters should there be an issue with their ballot, or if they're a vote-by-mail voter, we really need to know the most current address to send their vote-by-mail ballot to.
And so if somebody moves, we have a lot of people in Laguna Woods Village who move from one unit in Laguna Woods Village to another. And would they need to re-register to vote? That's a sport of confusion to some people.
Yes, and I think if your street address changes, then yes, please contact our office. You can just give us a phone call. You can fill out another voter registration form, either by paper or online. We're happy to take that information so we can keep our records as updated as possible too.
And how about people that are confused as to whether or not they are registered? How can they check that?
Sure. They can check by visiting our website, ocvote.com/verify, or they can always give us a phone call, and we're happy to check and let them know over the phone immediately.
So either way.
Yeah.
So let me switch the conversation a little bit and talk about, after you've registered, voting. Why don't you tell us that I know there's different ways you can vote here in California. So if you could just go through some of the different ways people can actually vote.
Yes, of course. So the traditional way of voting is going to your local polling place and casting your ballot on election day. Another way to vote is through vote by mail. Voters can register to vote by mail either just for one election or become a permanent vote by mail voter, and they receive their ballot about a month in advance, and they have that time to go over it and submit their vote by mail ballot back to our office.
When do they have to be into the office, vote by mail? Because I know most people here in Laguna Woods too, do vote by mail.
Yes, so as long as it's postmarked by election day and it's received no later than 8 days after the election day, we can count that.
And is there any way people can check?
Yes, so definitely one way that they can check is just always call our office. But we have this really neat new technology coming up. It's our tracking system called OC Ballot Express. We're working really closely with the U.S. Postal Service to incorporate these intelligent barcodes on our redesigned vote by mail envelopes that will be able to show the voter the moment that the vote by mail ballot leaves our office, is scanned into the mail system at the Postal Service, and when it's in transit to their home, and then they have it, which is really neat to track online. And from there, they can also track it again when they put it back in the mail, and it goes through the Postal Service, and it comes back to us. What is really neat, I think, about the OC Ballot Express is that now we have a new communication channel with voters should there be an issue with their ballot. For example, oftentimes with vote by mail ballots, we see that there's either a missing signature, the signature doesn't match on file, or there's something else that we need to clarify first before we can accept the ballot. And by putting this process online, voters then don't have to wait for the postcard that we would normally send, and they can take action right away, letting us know that what is going on with my ballot, how come it hasn't been accepted yet, here's what I need to do to fix it.
Yeah.
And it's just the regular website?
Yes.
Okay.
So the website that we have designated for this specific process, the OC Ballot Express, is ocvote.com/track.
Well, I'm sorry, go
But
ahead.
they can get to all those just by going to ocvote.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, and from there find whatever it is they need.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the vote by people who vote at the polls, is there early voting, or and how long does that last? When can you start? Because you're so anxious, you just need to vote. Like money is burning a hole in your pocket. Vote is burning a hole in your pocket. You need to get it out. Where can
Yeah.
they go, and when can they do it?
Yeah, so for the June 2018 election, we will be operating 5 early vote centers throughout the county. We're looking in Fullerton, Costa Mesa, Santa Ana in our office, Mission Viejo, and Irvine. And those will be open 10 days before Election Day and also on Election Day. So that'll give a window of opportunity for voters to come in and vote as if it were Election Day, or to drop off their vote by mail ballot if they prefer to hand it directly over to a staff member from my office versus using the Postal Service.
And there'll be other, on Election Day, there'll be other traditional polls, I assume,
Yes.
throughout the county.
Yes, we'll have polling places throughout the entire county. We're currently in the process of locking the polling places, so we're very close.
Okay. Now, what if I go into my polling place and my name's not on the list? What happens then?
Yes, so for a voter that comes to a polling place and they're not able to find that their name is on the list, or maybe they went to a different polling place than the one that they're assigned, because that does change depending on which polling places we're able to have secured in time for the election. Voters may cast a provisional ballot, which essentially is a way for voters to still vote, but it requires verification on our office's part to make sure that they are indeed eligible and registered to vote.
Got it.
Now, how often does that happen? I'm not looking for specific numbers, just a general info.
Yeah, we do find that there is a significant amount of provisional votes simply because, like we talked about earlier, voters don't update their voter registration form. We don't have it on the most current address on record, and when they don't vote, say for example in the last 4 years, their record may go inactive. So that just requires voters to really communicate with our office that when they move, when something happens, please let us know. We want to keep it as updated as possible.
Let me just, I just want to go over a couple of the dates, reiterate what you said, because
Sure.
these are important dates for people. The primary election, the first election, is on June the 5th.
That's correct.
And that's the primary election. It's also, because California is a confusing state to vote in some ways, it's also the general election for some county-wide offices and some district offices. But June the 5th is the election. And the last day to register to vote in that June 5th election, the primary election, is May 21st.
That's
right?
correct.
You
15
have to
days
be
before.
registered to vote May 21st or before in order to vote in the June election. If you come in on May 22nd to register, you're out of luck. Is that correct?
You can come to our office in Santa Ana and do same-day registration instead.
You can. Oh, so
Okay.
Yes.
can you literally register right up until the date of?
Yes.
Ah,
So you can, you would have to come to our office though, because that is where we keep the records and we
Right.
can verify on site.
so that would mean a trip to Santa Ana.
It would, but
Okay.
you know,
It's not
we're
that
there.
far.
Yeah, right.
I've driven there a few times. It's not that far, but it's better to just do it in advance.
Right.
Right, we
Yes.
encourage folks who are interested to do it ahead of time because you just never know with the lines and with parking. You know, we want to make it as convenient as possible for voters, so we have it there as a fallback option, but we really do encourage those who are interested to do it early and ahead of time.
Yeah, so remember, May 21st, you should be registered by May 21st to vote in the primary election on June the 5th. So it's important for everybody to keep those dates in mind. And also, I'm going to repeat the website because this is like the portal to get into the registrar voters website where you can have any specific question answered, or almost any. It's very simple, www.ocvote, right?
.com.
ocvote.com. So if you have any questions about whether you're registered, whether you need to register, or any questions at all, that's really a good place to start. Okay? And well, let me move in now to the election itself, the vote counting.
Yes.
Always an issue for people. So if you could explain to us the different ways in which the votes are counted and how they're counted, the different votes.
Sure. So as mentioned earlier, we talked about vote by mail. So voters receive their ballots in advance when they vote by mail, and then they also have the opportunity to send it back to our office earlier than Election Day. So our office will collect the vote by mail ballots and we'll start processing them. We'll keep a tally of them, and then on election night at 8:05 p.m. we'll post results of all the vote by mail ballots that we've received up until that point. Thereafter, we start receiving votes that come in through the more traditional polling places and early voting centers, and then we update about every hour until all precincts have been accounted for.
So the vote by mail ballots, once they're received in the office, are they entered into the system? And then at 8:05, it just
Yeah.
adds it all up?
Yep.
Wow.
It's
okay.
a big drop, but we do take it into consideration that there is a large volume of vote by mail ballots coming in, so we take that time that we have early to count them and move them and get that ready for that 8:05 p.m. posting.
And there's a running tally going, so if you go, I assume it's through the OC Vote website, if I wanted to find out what the tally was on a particular day at the end of a day.
We don't post any results until 8:05 p.m. on Election Day.
On Election Day, okay, I'm sorry, I think you said that, and I think it went through one ear and out the other, sorry.
Yeah. Another question then in regards to that, the actual voting machines that they're using, how are their safeguards around that? I know there's been some issues, not with Orange County, but just, run us through that.
Right, so we take security very seriously in our office, and I think it's important to distinguish between voting machines and systems versus the voter registration system that we have in California. The voter registration system is statewide through what is called VoteCal, and that is connected through a network where all the counties are connected. So when you register to vote, say in Los Angeles County, but you move to Orange County, we can collect that record, so it's all on one network. As for our voting machines, those are not connected to the network. Those have what we call an air gap, so it's very secure. Once the polls have closed and the results are on its way back to our office, they're actually escorted by the OC Sheriff's Department. So I hope that voters have some peace of mind when they know that their vote is being escorted by law enforcement.
So there's no internet connection really to the voting machines themselves?
That's correct.
Okay.
What is an air gap? I'm not familiar with that.
An air gap means that there's no connection to the internet.
Oh,
there's no
okay.
connection that could, for example, someone could breach and then try to affect the results of the election. By having that air gap, we provide another layer of security to the votes.
And is there any way if somebody wanted to literally change the vote tallies, is that remotely possible, or are there safeguards for that? Or just how would that work,
Sure.
or how would preventing that work
Yes.
more like it?
So again, we take security very seriously. A person who is interested in doing that would have to go through many hoops. On election night, we're very much aware. We have a very intensive check-in process, so we know which members of the public are there. They have very clearly designed name tags, and those who are staff have name badges, so we know who's there and who's around. And staff are trained regularly that if you see someone who looks suspicious or is not supposed to be there, to alert someone right away. And we have cameras throughout, so we're always watching, and the access to our servers is secure.
Very good. That's good to know.
Indeed, yeah, that's a concern of people. It's interesting. Never thought that we would be talking about the voter security here in the United States, but it's an issue now, and it's something that people are concerned about. So, what kind of role do I know that you with 1,500,000 voters? It's a lot of work to do. How important a role do volunteers play?
Yes.
In the running of an election?
Absolutely. We are very grateful for our volunteers. It would not be possible to put on an election with so many polling places without such dedicated volunteers that we have. We have about 10,000 actually, and that includes, like I said, from all the way from La Palma to San Clemente, we have a need. And we will also have a need for volunteers who can speak other languages to be in compliance with certain federal and state mandates. So I cannot stress the importance enough of having volunteers. They go through a training, about 3 hours or so, depending on more if you want to be a volunteer with more responsibilities like an inspector. And depending on your role, you may receive a stipend between $120 and $160.
So a paid volunteer.
It's a paid
Yes.
volunteer, and it's definitely a way to give back to your community and meet some neighbors if you're at a polling place.
And one thing important for people who are interested in doing this, because this is an issue that, as a club, this is an issue that we run into all together. If you volunteer to be a volunteer, please show up.
Yes,
know,
absolutely. I
don't
cannot
we-
stress that enough.
If you can't do it, don't volunteer. That might be a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Well, you have to commit yourself to do it, because they're counting on you at the registrar's office, and we're all counting on you here too for our votes. To make sure that the election runs smoothly.
I was thinking, when do the, you may have said this earlier in the conversation, but when do the sample ballots go out? And then the voter guides, the information booklets, those all go prior to the
Yes, that's correct.
the ballots,
Yes.
right?
So our planned date for the voter information guides to go out is April 26th, so that's coming up very soon.
Wow.
It is
And
indeed.
soon after that, we'll have the vote by mail ballots go out on May 7th. So everything is just happening very fast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So let's again. I just want to go over the dates and most important, how people can get in touch with the registrar, because there's people that have questions.
Yes.
As much information as you can give people, they're
Yeah.
still going to have individual questions. And again, the election is June the 5th. You must be registered by June 21st. Otherwise, if you want to register after that, you're going to have to take a trip to Santa Ana. It's much easier to do it before May 21st than it would be to go to Santa Ana. The election is June the 5th. And the website, the Registrar of Voters website, very simple, www.ocvotes.com. And really, if you have specific questions, those can be answered at that website. So please avail yourself. Don't wonder or show up to the polls not knowing whether or not you're registered to vote. You can check, and it's easy and it's simple. So please do it. I guess the next question I would have for you is, what's the registrar of voters? I know you always have technology advances, everything advances. You need to move ahead. So what are some of the things on the horizon that are going to make our elections, theoretically anyway, easier here in Orange County?
Yeah, so we're always looking out for different technologies to make the voting experience better for voters. Like I mentioned earlier, we're looking into we're testing OC Ballot Express to track the delivery and return of vote-by-mail ballots. We're constantly looking for ways to improve our website. We've redesigned it not too long ago, but we're looking at ways to make it more intuitive and more easily accessible as well.
Yeah, and There's a pilot program going on I wanted to ask you about also. Orange County has decided not to participate in this pilot program, but it's a pilot program. It's really kind of, I don't know what you call it, not completely reinventing the wheel, but making some pretty substantive changes in the way that we vote. So could you briefly, as well as you're versed on it, to let us know what those changes are, and do you think this is something that's going to happen throughout the state in the near future?
Sure. I believe you're referring to the vote centers.
Yes.
So for Orange County in 2016, we did operate an early voting center, and we saw that that went well, and we're planning on bringing it back for the June 2018 and November 2018 election. We'll have it in 5 different sites throughout Orange County, one in Fullerton, Costa Mesa, Irvine, Mission Viejo, and in our office in Santa Ana. The idea is to have it open for voters to vote 10 days ahead of Election Day and also on Election Day, with hours that are more convenient for voters, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. the first 7 days, and on the last 3 days on Election Day, it'll be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we're really hoping voters will be able to take advantage of that extended time to vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
And tell us about the bus, the pop-up bus.
Oh,
The pop-up polling place.
Sure. I think you're referring to our pop-up voting center. We
Yes.
haven't quite named it yet.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to figure out what to call it. But it's a new thing that we're bringing to Orange County. It looks kind of more like one of those pop-up storefronts. It's got great front glass windows that you can see through. It's very open. I think it's very welcoming and inviting as well. What is really neat about it is that it's transportable. You can take it, as long as there's a space that'll fit it, we can put it there. And it's intended to operate as a full service, essentially early voting center, or just somewhere that you can go and update your address, somewhere that you can go and update anything that you have on your voter registration form. And we're looking to kick things off, hopefully, on May 25th at the downtown Santa Ana Civic Center.
So this will be a working operation.
It will.
Hopefully for the June election.
Yes.
So do you see these things? I know nobody has the crystal ball or can see the future, but do you see these vote centers, these early voting things? Do you see these being adopted by the state of California? Do you think that is something that we're going to be dealing with in the near future?
Sure. So I do know that 5 counties out of the 58 counties in California have adopted the vote center model, and I think a lot of counties are waiting to see how they go and if it's appropriate for their county to adopt, and I presume Orange County will be the same.
Well, you know what? I'm going to ask and answer the last question.
Okay.
And the question is, what registrar of voters is recognized as the best in the state of California and one of the top in the country? And that's Neil Kelly's Registrar of Voters office here in Orange County. So we have a lot to be thankful for with that. It has a fabulous reputation, and one of the reasons is people like you working there.
That's very kind of you.
I know the staff is not large. I think you told me 55 people.
Yes.
And there's 1,500,000 voters. There's a lot of work to do, and you guys really do a fabulous job. And it's recognized throughout the state and really throughout the country. So we appreciate it.
Thank you. I think that our staff are passionate about the work that we do, so that's why we keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you very, very much. We're running out of time, so I wanted to thank you for coming here today. A lot of information and very, very helpful. So I'm hoping that people who maybe had questions at the beginning of this program, they were answered, or at least to go to ocvote.com if you have specific questions to answer. And just a few words about voting. At the Laguna Woods Democratic Club, we really feel the most important thing we do is to try to get people to register to vote and to vote. It's really the primary elemental way we participate in our form of government. And our form of government is voluntary. We not only agree to abide by the results of the elections, like them or not, but we also agree to participate. We agree to make decisions. And if you don't vote, you're letting other people make a decision for you. If you vote, even if you vote for a candidate who's lost, right, your vote is still counted and it counts. Your voice is being heard, your opinion is being registered, win or lose. And when you vote, please don't stop at the familiar names at the top of the ballot. We're going to know pretty much everybody running for governor. We're going to know pretty much everybody running for senator. But there are so many offices down ballot, as it's called, local offices, regional offices, county offices. It's harder to get information about it, but it's really crucial if you think about it. If your grandchild or child is having a problem with the Orange County schools, you don't call the governor's office, you call your local representative at the Board of Education. That's an office you can vote for in this election. You own a piece of property in Orange County and you're having a problem with the assessment, right? You don't call United States Senator, you call the Orange County Assessor's Office, another office that you can vote for today, or in June, pardon me. So it's difficult, I know. These offices are obscured, the people running for them, there's not a lot of information on it, but it's so important that we try to get as much information as we can and make an informed judgment on who we feel is best to represent us. We need to vote for these down ballot offices. And one final thing about voting in California, it's simple and it's easy. The state of California wants us to participate in the election process. That's not the case every place else. Not in other parts of the world, not even in this country now. Your right to vote, your ability to vote, your ease of voting could be determined by the color of your skin, your ethnic background, your religion, whether or not the political party in power is popular where you live. But that's not the case in California. In California, the state makes it simple and they make it easy. So it's one of those things. You know, we have a lot of things to take advantage of here in Orange County. We got the beautiful weather every day, but being able to vote and the ease of vote is one of those things we need to take advantage of. So please register to vote and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jackie.